What's up, Descendants? So let's hop right into it. The godly endgame beginner-friendly bunny build for specifically doing all forms of content in the game. This is going to be the same exact build that I used to complete all of the bosses in hard mode, as well as specifically doing the dungeon farming. You're going to see we have max mods enabled, so these enemies are as hard as possible for specifically dungeon farming, as that's pretty much what you want bunny for. It's not really meant for a boss killer build, but this is going to be probably one of the best builds for pretty much 90% of the player base, as you get bunny for free. You also get Thunder Cage for free. So that's the main thing I wanted to focus in on for this build guide, as well as including 0 Transcendent mods. So it's going to be super beginner friendly for everyone to get this up and running. The one thing that will be the hardest thing to get is just HP Collector, but you need that on every single build for the most part as far as endgame goes. But keep in mind, the gameplay that you're about to see is like the earlier stages of my endgame, and so it's again going to be super relatable, like everyone can achieve this build. And I'll mention some of the stuff that you don't need to get ASAP, as I don't even have every single one of these mods maxed out in the gameplay. I basically have about half of the mods here. But again, this is to make it so it's super easy for everyone to go ahead and play. And again, this dungeon that you're about to see for the background has all of the difficulties cranked up, as far as like the rewards that you can get, like for the points, that goes up when you add more mods. So it's completely maxed out. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started with the build. So here's what the build is supposed to do. As far as the skills go, we really only activate our lightning emission. That is basically the little lightning novas. That's the only skill that we really focus in on. The rest is just like a run and gun playstyle with the Thunder Cage, as that is a ultimate weapon that you will get for free. Super easy to go ahead and get. I only have mine literally with one additional one put in, so it's not like it's completely maxed out, but obviously you can max that out. So that's the only thing that we actually use for our skills. It's just using the ability to have our lightning novas, and then if we have our sprint, we can use that. So as far as the skills go, that's the only two things that we really focus in on, as well as getting 100% uptime on the lightning emission. So let's go ahead and get started with the bunny modules, then we'll go ahead and go to the Thunder Cage modules, and as well as the auxiliary and reactor. So for starters, it doesn't really matter which melee thing that you choose, but shock punch is the one that I went for because, well, it's electric, it works with the bunny. Then we have singular master over here, then time distribution just for more cooldown over here, as well as getting more damage on our singular skill, which is again lightning emission. Then also getting more damage, singular specialist here, more damage, more defense. HP collector, it's not something that I have even in this gameplay. Again, this was like earlier on. It would help out a ton. It's a very, very good thing to have, especially if you can put a lot of points into it. Getting the ability to recover at 9% of your HP every 2 seconds is fantastic for doing dungeons. Then we have increased HP because, well, that's how you scale defenses in this game. And then we have stim accelerant, as well as getting maximized duration, which this, though, I'm going to be honest, you can swap this out. It's up to you. Do you want to get cooldown? I just like the extra duration because it makes it a little bit easier, but it's up to you. It's kind of the same thing. You do technically take a small penalty, but in the very beginning, since I wanted this to be a beginner-friendly build, most of the stuff, even if you max out the dungeon in terms of all of the mods, you're still pretty much one-shotting most of the stuff on the screen. And then this is something that you can invest to later on, because keep in mind, I only had like a lot of these sockets weren't completely catalyzed yet, so we can get this later. I don't even have it in the gameplay, but this is something that, you know, I'm gonna at least fill up the builder here so you guys will have everything ready to go. And then iron defense just for additional skill power, as well as giving you extra defense. So the build is relatively tanky, with the exception of doing the bosses. This build just basically rolls through the dungeons. That's kind of what it's designed for. Again, you can complete all bosses. I did it myself with the exact same build. Now, as far as the weapons go, you only really need Thunder Cage here, but this is what's going to give you the most advantage. So I would recommend you guys not to get any of the crit ones, because obviously, once again, with the builder, I'm going to show off all the modules, but I'm actually missing a lot of these. In fact, a lot of these weren't even leveled up. But you don't have to have Real Life Fighter. I don't have it in the gameplay, but I'm still going to put it on the builder so everything is filled up and it shows you what's kind of like the best in slot. So Thunder Cage is excellent for specifically the crit. You want to scale crit later in the game, but you may not need to get it in the very earlier stages, as, well, you're just going to have to get some of these modules. I don't have Real Life Fighter in the gameplay, but this is pretty much one of the best mod slots for pretty much everything, which gives you up to like a 100% damage. Really good for bossing, which really helps out. And then we have Weak Point Sight. Then we've got the Electric Enhancement. You can run whatever the boss is weak to, though, in this category. Action Reaction, Fire Rate Up, Edging Shot, for crit, and then concentration priority gives you extra crit damage, and then we run better insight for more critical hit rate, better concentration for crit hit damage, and then rifling reinforcement. So in the earlier stages, the main things that you want to focus in on for like this early endgame beginner friendly bunny build is specifically on Thunder Cage. You want rifling reinforcement, then you want some sort of element, and then fire rate up. Those are the ones that are going to give you the biggest advantage, as well as weak point sight, because all of these are going to be the blue mods. That's why I'm trying to tell you guys, level up those ones. It's cheaper and you're going to have easier access to them. And then later you can start getting the other ones if you happen to get them. Get all the crit stuff at the very end, because the crit stuff doesn't really scale till you get kind of multiple like extra crit chance as well as the crit damage that kind of help one another. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as the other things that we have in here, so we obviously want Thunder Cage mounting, as well as getting the electric and singular, but if you get increased like skill duration or cooldown, that's totally fine too. And then maybe you can mess around with the modules. The one module that I would probably remove first is maximize duration. Earlier on, if I happen to have extra like cooldown or whatever, this is excellent. The whole goal is just to try to get your lightning emissions however you get it. Maybe you need to remove damage or whatever, get the nimble fingers or whatever can give you extra cooldown. The main thing that you want to try to get is 100% uptime on the little lightning novas that shoot out. Next up, we're running the supernova set over here. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really feel like this thing does that much damage, but arguably it does kind of help out for dungeons. For bossing, I want to say that you may benefit off of the extra little small bonus damage a little bit, but you can definitely get away without running the set. So what the set does is with the 2-piece set, you get bonus electric skill power, which is okay. Then the 4-piece bonus makes it so the fusion skill power gets increased, and then on electric skill attack upon an enemy inflicted with electrocution, it activates the Executioner's Thunderbolt. That's actually a boss ability, and it shoots down on the ground, and this actually happens multiple times, and it does okay damage. And what it does is if it kills an enemy, then another enemy walks by and it's going to like come down and strike them. It gives you extra like speed clear, so I will say that it is definitely a little bit nicer for speed clear, but it's not something that I would worry about at all if you happen to not have the set. It's not like the difference between the build running and not running is the set. So don't worry too much about this. If you just get sets with any sort of defensive stats, specifically HP as well as defense, that's kind of ideally what you want to go ahead and look for. But because this is the main gun over here, we don't really need to run anything else. Again, the whole goal with this is to be super beginner friendly, as well as really easy to actually build up and play. As far as the other mods, again, in the very earlier stages, you may not have all of the things catalyzed yet, so don't feel like you have to get all of these. The things that I would remove in the very earlier stages are the bonus damages to, let's say, like Singular Specialist or Singular Master, because most of the stuff will die in the earlier stages, even in the dungeons. It's just really when you do some of the bosses where it's not going to one-shot the boss, obviously. But later we can run a bunny build for bossing, and I'll update you guys with another build for that. But the main thing I wanted to show off was the build that you guys really wanted to know, like this is the bunny build that I completed everything with, as well as I still swap to this one I'm doing dungeons, but there's another module. It's like the bionic one where we basically sacrifice HP for mana, and I will be updating a guide for you guys with that one very soon. But anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. Pretty short little vid over here. So if you guys want to see an update to the boss build or any other updates to this build, feel free to go ahead and subscribe, turn the bell on, and you'll definitely be notified when we drop that. But if there's any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.